Well, hey everybody, here we are. Good to see ya. Good to be streaming together. All right. We are continuing our Gandalf piece. And I have moved. We finished last time with sketching out digitally this piece in Photoshop. And what was really fun about it is that I got to be in in the digital world, which is I feel really comfortable there, and I've done a lot of work in the digital realm. And so, and then we're going to move it over into a primed, gesso primed masonite board. And so what I've done is I've used an enlarger to move it onto a board, which is really cool. It's amazing that it actually even works to do that. So. The enlarger is just like a projector, an opaque projector where I can put a sketch, and actually this little sketch just goes right inside the projector, and then I take that and I just kind of draw my outlines of the illustration onto the board or paper or whatever you're using. So a little dark. Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
Seems like you need to hand over or something. It like gets.
Yeah. So down here, let's see if I can make it a little bit brighter here for us. Is that any better? Let's see if that's going to make it a little bit brighter. We're trying to get this is our first time doing the setup where we have a phone and everything kind of recording from above. So we'll see if it actually works here. So, but what we're doing today is, yeah, it's still a little bit dark, isn't it? Yeah. I'm not sure why it's quite so dark. Let's see if we can try to make it a little bit better here. Whoa, hello, zoom in. There we go. See if that's any better. So what we're going to do today is we're going to use just ultimately this is going to be a acrylic an oil painting, but I like to do acrylic underpainting. So I just have some really simple master's touch fine art acrylic, and I'm just going to water that down and establish my lines and some of my values, so that later on I can come in and actually oil paint later, which is actually pretty fun. So I understand maybe it might be just a little bit dark, a little strange. We got two different lights going on here and everything. I wonder if it's better if I actually turn off this light. Let's see if that actually registers things a little bit better. Maybe the camera can pick it up, or is that just too dark? Hey there, Goose. Joel, good to have you here, my man. Trying to decide on how bright to actually make this. The actual image that's straight down. Does it seem a little bit dark? I got two desk lights here, but they're different colors, so it's a little awkward. So is that any better? To have the two lights, or is it a little strange to have the two lights on there? Maybe we'll just do the one. I think that's about as bright as I can make it. Might be a little bit dark, but we're just gonna have to kind of work with that now. Oh, sorry. All right, so what we're gonna do, what I've done is I have my my rough sketch here, and so that's so that I can see kind of what I'm doing, and stay in line with the idea that I have. And so a lot of the work that I've already done is I don't create new problems that I need to kind of come back to. I can kind of create new problems because I'm good at making new problems, but I'd rather not. So what I'm doing is I'm gonna set that up kind of in front of me. Excuse me, so that I can always have that as a guide for what I'm gonna do. Okay. I'm on multiple platforms here, so I'm kind of switching back and forth just in case we've got people chatting. On YouTube and Facebook and Twitch right now, which is kind of fun. All right, so what I'm going to do here is go ahead and I've got just a pretty basic little setup here with just a little bit of water. That's just to dilute the paints a little bit, along with I found this little palette that was never really cleaned out properly. And so I'm just going to squeeze just a tiny bit. Now this stuff goes forever. The way that I'm laying it down, it kind of goes absolutely forever. It is, you're right, it's still just a little bit dark, and I'm going to see if I can't fix that. I'm just going to be right back, okay? All right, let's see if that's going to help to be just a little bit better, a little bit brighter. Joel, let me know if that is a good brightness, or Christina, let me know if that's gonna work. Okay. All right. So what I've also done is I've also printed out just some of the line work that I've done as a there's just kind of a guide to keep me kind of going the right direction here. I'm not terribly used to painting in this fashion, especially kind of in this material. This is kind of a new thing for me. These printouts will just kind of help me stay on track a little bit. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on, so I've got a piece of paper here just to put my hand on so that I don't smudge Gandalf too much. I've got a couple brushes here. They're super small. Look at this round. Like, I don't know if you can see that very well, but man, is it just like super tiny. This is going to help me get some of the really small spots. Oh my god. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start work on the figures first and kind of get those laid in here. So and I'm just going to kind of work right to left here so that I don't smash up my kind of go over my drawing at all. So now eventually these lines will be I'll be painting over them, and so I'm not too terribly worried about what they're going to be like. The main goal here is to just preserve the drawing so that I can when I'm oil painting on it, I don't end up losing it, because that's one of the things that I'm most worried about, is that I would lose my drawing. So and I think while I am, I think I'm going to zoom in a little bit on Gandalf while I'm working on him a little bit so that y'all can see him a little bit better. Now, there's so many different ways to start a painting, depending on the medium that you're in. And traditionally with oils, it would be to start it in some sort of oil, of course, and use thin out the oil so that you have a thin fat over lean, following those kind of rules. And but one of the things that's really difficult, that's difficult for me in that area, is the fact that I don't want to use any turpentine if I can avoid it, just because for health reasons and things like that. I just don't want to use turpentine, so I'm not on it. How are we doing? Is that brightness a little bit better? Yeah, I do need an extra light view. So yeah, another light would actually be really, really nice right now, wouldn't it? Wade, it's good to have you back. Thanks for joining me again. All right, so we were in Photoshop last week, and this week we are off to acrylic underpaintings. I did a little bit more value work in this comp, I would call it, to see where I wanted to go. And unfortunately, that left me kind of a little bit of a pickle because I had to print to do the transfer. I didn't have just lines. Typically, when I do a transfer, I have just lines to go off of, rather than like an actual value study. And so it was hard to, when I was doing the transfer, it was actually a little bit difficult to see the lines. So I was trying to make that transfer. So I'm already starting to work a little bit too far because I do have to get his cloak here. So one of the nice things about this acrylic is how fast it does dry. I mean, it's kind of funny because I'm painting in oils, which of course are notorious for taking a long time to dry. And yet I'm doing the initial work in acrylics, which are known for drying very quickly. So I'm trying to use each medium to its strength, including digital. Hi Sherry, nice to see you. Thanks for joining me. Probably gonna have to zoom out a little bit so that you can see what I'm working on. Just a little bit. Zoom it out of the way here just for a moment so that you can see everything that I'm doing. So while I'm doing this line work, I may do just tiny bits of value as I'm going along. But my hope is to mostly do some line work and then come back and hit all the value later, just so that I have things kind of established before I get kind of too far down the road. So. So, one of the reasons that I'm on board and not Canvas, I know that Canvas is a very common medium to work on when it comes to oil painting. And that's a pretty common question. And I have worked on canvas over the years, but one of the things I didn't like about it was the texture. And I'm actually more of a fan of a very smooth texture. And in fact, my last painting that I did, I wanted it even smoother than that. And so what I did with this one is that, I'm getting these masonite boards just plain. And if you hear my daughter is here with me, and you can probably hear her in the background. That's Cosette. We get to share an office and spend quite a bit of time together, which is really nice. Yeah, so I like the smoothness of, I like working on smooth surfaces. And so the last one wasn't actually even smooth enough for me, and so I had to come back, and this time I even sanded this even further, sanded even down even more than I normally would. Okay, we're just cruising here. And that was really helpful. That was nice to have that. I think what I'm going to do, so I can see this a little better, is I'm going to put Gandalf right there. So he's my reference. I'm kind of able to see him really well. His little pouch here. When I was transferring this, I wasn't sure how much. I realized he needed a little bit of a bigger hat, and so after the transfer, I actually came in and just made his hat a little bit bigger. I'm not really sure why I needed to do that, or what was kind of motivating me there, but it's just what he needed. I think he's such a, his silhouette is so powerful. He's a very with his hat and his cloak and his staff, and it just didn't seem like it was matching. So trying to keep what I'm working on inside of it, but it's actually going up, kind of hitting up against my tripod here. So typically won't be working in this manner, because I'm either digitally painting or oil painting, but for this particular section, I do want to, I'm doing a little bit of acrylic, so I'm flat on my table, which I realized, well, how am I going to show this? Am I going to stream this? And so here we are, kind of with it a little bit of a janky setup. So shout out if if you're not able to see what I'm working on. Try to. So like I said, this acrylic is going to go a long way. So that's why I don't have, you can see how thinly I'm applying it. And that's another reason I like this masonite, is because of how it takes painting out over my lines like this. It just takes it so well. So I'm going to move back up here. Whoa, sorry about that. That was probably pretty loud. I'm going to zoom kind of here on Gandalf's face a little bit more, so that you can see what I'm working on a little bit better. All right, here we go. We'll start to move up his hat a little bit. Go over to Facebook. See if there's any. I really like how his hat kind of turns here at the top. It's super fun to me. So once we get these kind of the main lines established, we'll come back and get things sorted out. So one of the things is that I just made a little bit mistake there, and I can kind of pick it up a little bit, but it won't matter as we go forward. I'm really glad that I smoothed out this board a little bit more, because man, it was really, I would have really struggled with it. There's all these ridges, like just with this particular technique, that is. All right. Okay. So I noticed over the years that I have this thing, and I'm not even sure what to call it. But it's where I really like to draw huge eyebrows. And I can't really tell you when it started. But at some point, in my illustration career, I just started drawing these like huge eyebrows on people. And it wasn't just on like the guys. I mean, on old guys. It was just like on everybody. And I was like, what is going on? Why am I doing that? I could never really figure out why. Artistically, you make decisions and you're like, what is it that drove that decision? And you never really know. Okay, into his mustache here. Bottom part of his beard. Ba-da-ba-boo. I've really spent a lot of time in the last couple weeks really kind of studying getting back into oils and understanding them a little bit more, and just kind of figuring out what it is that I like about them and what it is that I want to be able to do with them, because they're so powerful, and I want to use them to their stretch them as far as I can with their abilities. And so one of the things that I've been doing a lot is just a lot of glazing, and a lot of layering of colors, and just really and value, and just really taking my time with the piece. Typically, when it came to the illustration world, I had to go pretty quickly, and I had to go as fast, sometimes almost as fast as I could. And well, hi Lynn, thanks for stopping by. It's been forever, my man. So with illustrations, you have to go as quickly as you possibly can, because you have deadlines, you have multiple pieces to work on, and so since I'm not doing that anymore, it's been really nice just to kind of take things a little bit slower and a little bit just more peacefully. And so with the oils, I have to wait for them to dry. Although I am experimenting with a walnut alkyd, which dries a lot quicker. Let's see if I can reach it here. So this is just regular walnut oil. And the alkyd is somewhere in there as well, but it looks just like that. And I keep them just in these little drop bottles like this. And that dries pretty quickly. So I'm just gonna start doing a little bit of value work here. At the last underpainting that I did mostly just line work, and I actually want to establish my values a little bit more as I'm going. And so we're just going to work thinly, loosely, and just kind of slowly start building things up over time. So one of the things I wanted to do, that I'm coming back to this area, so that should be mostly not dry, but it should be getting close. So I'm just going to take, I thought I had a little bit of a larger round brush. I'm going to use this. And just to start filling in this cloak a little bit now. Now, I'm not really, like I said, I'm not terribly worried about this blending, or if I have like weird things going on. Oh, that was a big thing of wind. Because I will be coming in later and just oil painting over this. So right now I just want to get shape and value, lines, that kind of thing in. And what I'm going to kind of experiment with here is the use of layering things up a little bit. One of the things I am worried a tiny bit about is this, using this particular process, that it will just take absolutely forever to do. And I'm a little worried about that. Not in the sense that I didn't want to get it done, but I also don't want to be needlessly taking way too long to do things. So I'm gonna try to find a little bit more of a balance of how long things should take and how long they can with the technique that I'm doing here. So it's funny because back in the watercolor days, when I was doing that mostly, and then I would paint over them in Photoshop. It was really important that all my washes were really tight, and that I didn't make too many mistakes. Because fixing a watercolor issue in post or in Photoshop varied in its difficulty. Sometimes it would be fairly easy to take care of, and other times it would just be an absolute disaster. And so I had to make sure my washes are good. And right now, I'm not worried about that really in the least. I am just worried about there being the correct value in areas, and so I might see a little bit more brushwork than is needed in those areas, and that's because I'm not worried about it. So similar to have if you were to do a traditional underpainting in oils, you'd have, because the oil's so thin, you would get a lot of brush strokes, but knowing that that's only temporary in the process. So as you can see, I'm already coming over these lines that I painted just a little bit ago. Hey Marty, good to have you here, my man. Welcome. That I painted just a little bit ago, or already starting to set up, and I can come and paint over them. I mean, it really hasn't been that long. And I'm already able to take these, and that's one of the reasons I'm doing this technique here, is because I know that it just dries so quickly. Now I realize I'm probably thinning this acrylic probably a little bit further than it needs to be, or that it should be. But right now, that's all right. So I can even do things like right now, even get the shadow of his hat the way that I want it to be. Or shadow from his hat, I should say. Okay. Thanks, Marty. It's nice to have you, my man. Thank you for stopping by. Yeah, so I've just kind of started to do some streaming on Saturdays, and which is kind of fun. It's something a little different. Okay. I'm just kind of working between that super small, fine round. It's to 0 actually, and then a little bit of a larger round. So I'll just kind of stay on round brushes for now, just to see how things progress. One of the things that I was wondering how it was going to go is now this is a 16 by 20 board. How is it going to work to try to paint at this size? Because one of the things is that it is actually a little bit smaller than I would like, or than for the drawing purposes, because trying to get good solid line work when things are too small can be just a little bit of a pain. So yeah, and I don't know why, but it looks like my closed captions are on, which is kind of funny. I think it's doing closed captions live. I think in on Facebook. All right, keep working up his sleeve here. So now what's kind of nice about this whole process is that I'm still making decisions about the drawing as I'm going. I mean, it's not like it's completely decided for me and I'm done. It's just that there's so much of it that is already done, and so it does make it, considerably easier. Not trying to figure out a bunch of things all while trying to think about composition and value and everything like that. Working this way allows me to kind of tackle certain issues at one moment and other issues at another. I don't think that painting should ever be, out of my out of control. There's moments where it's gonna, we're gonna see where things develop and where they go, but that's a different world than being just completely out of control, where it's like I don't know what's happening or where it's gonna go. And I'll probably end up telling this story more than once as we go along in this journey, but I got a chance to we need to zoom out. I gotta stop knocking it. I'm thinking, why is he knocking that so much? I got the chance to see Leonardo da Vinci's sketchbooks while they were on display. In London. And he worked through a lot of things. I mean, we regard him as an absolute master painter, you know, one of the old masters. And my goodness. Did he ever spend a lot of time figuring out anatomy and form and all sorts of things as he was going along? He didn't it didn't just suddenly all happen in that particular painting. Realize I'm painting off screen again, aren't I? Whoa. My goodness. Sorry about that. That was the biggest zoom ever. Seriously, I can't believe that I zoomed that far in. I mean, it's crazy. One of the things that's a little bit difficult I'm noticing about streaming and painting at the same time is the fact that I can't necessarily. It's harder to turn my my board if I need to. Specifically because I'm working at this size, it's a little bit more challenging. How's Frodo doing under there? Not smushing you, Frodo? Okay. So now I have to draw his staff, and I'm trying to avoid that because I hate drawing straight lines. Absolutely don't want to have to do it. I think a lot of these areas are starting to kind of dry up a little bit. I can come in and start to hit it with a little bit of value. As I mentioned before, I do want to have some values sorted out as we get going. I don't want to be in a spot where I just have just a line drawing, because that's not what I'm doing. I'm doing an underpainting. The underpainting needs to have value in it as well. So I am painting rather thinly at the moment. I think, is this dry yet? Man, see, that's already dry. That's incredible. But that's already dry. That's wild. Yeah, I'm gonna grab a little bit more paint. I'm gonna try to get this this staff done, even though I'm scared of it, and who knows what's gonna happen. Okay, how are we doing? Enjoy reading Exodus, Marty. Thanks for stopping by. Sometimes what I would tell people what I do for a living, and I would mention that, you know, I'm an illustrator. Sometimes I would get two different kinds of responses. I would get a, well, I can draw a stickman. That was a pretty common one. And another one was, well, I couldn't draw a straight line if it saved my life. And I'm like, you know, I'm kind of with you. It's really rough for me. I can't believe that is getting pretty dry already. So I'm going to come in and hit this with a little bit more color, a little more value. What we'll probably get to today is majority of oh, that's a lot more paint than I was expecting. Let's get that off there. I'm not. And then we'll work next time more on the background and getting that kind of put in there. So, and then what will happen later is then I will just kind of start glazing in color on top of this in oils. So I'm expecting that our next couple streams together we will be in this underpainting, depending on how fast things go. But now this wasn't fully dried, so I'm actually taking up some of the paint with me. So I actually have to come back here and sort that out a little bit. So I'm actually going to just probably not hit. I'll just be really careful around these lines here. Yeah. Whoopsies. Not quite dry enough. Probably should have gone a little bit further over into this area over here. So my background being in watercolor, I really do like to work rather thinly and then build up my value rather than coming in really heavy-handedly and just hitting things really hard. And so my goodness, I really destroyed my lines over there, didn't I, with that? How's it going, everybody? How are we doing on a nice Saturday night? Hi, Barb. Thank you for stopping by. Barb and I got to partner a lot in ministry together. When I was at the Covenant. It was really fun. Alright, so as you can see, I'm hitting the second thin layer. This cloak here. And Denise is here as well. Hi, Denise. Now, his beard is a white beard, or a grayish. There's gray in it and white in it, but it won't be totally white, so I will need to eventually get to that as well. As we're going through here. So there is a little bit of his cloak right here that is kind of peeking through that area. So I just wanted to make sure that I got that. And pretty much every time I come back to this area, I will also just hit it with a little bit as well, just to keep pushing back the value of that. Wonder how we are doing as far as dryness up in here. Risking it a little bit. Probably should move to a different area, but I wanted to see where we're sitting as far as dryness to hit this staff. I wouldn't mind having a staff like this. We did some diamond willow staffs a few years back, and that was pretty fun. So I'm not going to flush out too much. Because like I said, I'm still just trying to get just some basics down. But I do see, yeah, I went too fast and washed that without the lines, without the paint underneath it drying. So I did pick it up as I was going through. So I'm gonna need to come back here and fix that. Fortunately, this all up here is dry. Good, 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 good. Yeah, it's too late. I could push it out a little bit further outside of this, but yeah, his proportions, we are done with doing any proportion work. Could push his arm out a little bit as we go, but yep, all that's got to be done beforehand. Not that we don't want to fix mistakes, but yeah, that would have been done in other parts. Okay. This just doesn't want to stand up, does it? Alright. Do a little bit of value work on his hands here. And now let's hit the staff as well. Sorry, just working down that. This is a technique. Doing this whole acrylic thing is a technique that I learned from Jeff Maricola. He has some instructional DVDs out there that are really good about painting. If you're interested at all in doing any sort of painting like this, I highly recommend his work because it's really helpful. And he's a good teacher. Trying to figure out how wet some of these areas are. How wet is this area? I do have these little, I also keep little Q-tips, so I can sometimes pick up a little bit of paint if I need to. They work better with oils. Sometimes with a medium like this, just a towel is good, but you gotta work fast, or things are kind of gone. So I'm not really sure what I can or can't paint on right now because of how I did pick up a little bit there beforehand, so I'm not really sure what is safe to the paint on and what is not. But I'm gonna try to get these lines back that I kind of lost. And to see if I can kind of salvage them a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Able to get those back. I think having a medium, trying to decide on what mediums to be used can be a really kind of a daunting process or a daunting challenge. And I think that it's really easy to kind of pigeonhole yourself into what mediums you're going to use and to not explore. And I think, although I did paint with oils while I was in the college, I really had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I mean, I had great instructors too. But it's really easy to kind of get stuck into something you feel comfortable doing. And that would have been, that's really funny. I think I just made a mistake here. I did, yeah. This line right here, actually, this line right here is the end of his cloak, not right in there. But I've painted it as though it is. So I'll need to come back later and fix that. Most likely when I'm doing the other parts. Oh, Gandalf. Like I said when I was doing the sketches and stuff on digitally, I was like, yeah, it's funny that I really loved this series so much, but yet I haven't really explored it very much as far as drawing it. I did Eowyn and Nazgul quite a few years ago now. And I think that's the only other, Christine, is that the only other Lord of the Rings piece I have? It may very well be. Okay, so what I'm going to start doing now, I'm going to switch out of this brush. I'm going to work just a little bit less transparently and a little bit more opaquely. As I put down on his cloak here, because his cloak here is going to be one of the deepest values, the deepest of the piece. And so I want to start to push that a little bit heavier. With some value. Now the trouble here will be to not get too thick, but yet not continue to put these micro layers on, because we'll be doing that with oil later, so we don't need to do that a bunch now. So I just keep towels next to me to wipe off my brush if I need to. And I found over the years that, you know, paper towels are great, but that I tend to like these blue shop towels. They're pretty nice. Especially when it comes to like oil painting, because they're kind of designed to pick up oil, right? I think I'm just going to go all the way in here and hit his hat here with some pretty deep colors. I don't need to do layering there really. There's not a lot of information that's going to be in there. I mean, it's not just, you know, a black shadow and that's it, but so we're gonna need to figure out what we're going to do regarding the arm issue, with the arm being not the right length. I did sit on this for a while, so it's too bad that I didn't pick up on that issue earlier, because those are the kind of things that I'd like to be able to capture before they get, you know, kind of out of hand, and so that we're not having to, I think I mentioned earlier that, you know, we're not dealing with issues that we could have taken care of at other times. And so that, you know, that would be an example of that. But obviously painting is dynamic and things don't always go, you know, as we want them to, or as we plan them to. And there's probably some life lessons there. Painting is sometimes a lot like life, where things just don't always go as you planned. Which sometimes is a pain in the butt. So here we go, we've got one of the things that is important to do every once in a while is just to kind of do a quick step back and see where we're sitting here. Are things coming along the way that we want them to? Is there anything sticking out other than, you know, the length of his arm there that we need to address? Because we should probably be moving on to to Bilbo pretty soon here. Hey, John. Oh, Legolas, Arwen, Galadriel. Yeah, that would be that'd be a fun piece to do. Hi, Jackson. Nice to see you. All right, well, we're cruising on Gandalf here, and he's doing well. So we've got kind of the base layer of Gandalf that we wanna have. The area is kind of behind him. We'll need to come back and hit as well. But I think what we're gonna do, let's see if we can slide things over here successfully without knocking too much. I don't want to set anything on top of him right now because he is still, paint is still wet here. So let me just figure out where I can put a few things here. I may zoom out a little bit here so that we can see I'm not sure. Are we able to see are you able to see Bilbo all the way here? Right here. Can you see Bilbo? Or is he kind of too far down? I'm not really sure how to, unfortunately I can't really slide anymore. So what do I might turn this a little bit and see if we can zoom in on Bilbo a little bit. And that may be okay. Actually funny, I'm really using my phone here. That might get a little wonky with being able to see it's like the actual perspective of the piece, but I think that it get most of them in there. So all right, well, let's go ahead and start on getting parts of kind of Bilbo blocked in here a little bit. Okay, let's get things going with Bilbo here. So I'll continue to work from left to right, so that I'm not putting my hand in wet paint. One of the reasons I do it like this is because no matter what kind of painting it is, I've kind of always seen myself as not necessarily a painter, but a drawer. Like I like to And having the line work is just so important for me. Okay. Working on his face here. This part of his leg right here, I was thinking, man, I should have got some reference for it, and I'm kind of feeling that right now. Like, oh, that would have been a good idea. Because I'm just spitballing it right now. Or when I was doing the initial drawing, it is. I literally am scared sometimes in my paintings that I'm going to leave out a toe or something. Or some just be moving so fast that I don't notice that the person only has 4 fingers on one hand and 5 on the other. I mean, it'd be different if he was a 6-finger man. I've noticed at this stage it's pretty good to try to do some sort of strokes with the brush, not just kind of needle it around. Don't see all of his toes there, so don't worry about it. We'll see some hobbit hair. The hairy feet. Okay. Let's get up his. I had a really good time drawing his coat here. I thought his coat was great. So I was like, man, I'm kind of jealous. I kind of want that. Kind of want that coat. Like I mean, I'd wear a coat like that. I was about to say who wouldn't, but a lot of people wouldn't wear a coat like that. Okay, now we're kind of cruising up his collar here. And we'll move on. Make sure that we got some fresh paint here, because of course the face is obviously the most delicate part of what we do. The eyes. And the eyes are one of those things that a viewer, just like in a photograph or a movie or anything, you're always going to look at. So that and hands, the hands have to be right. And if they're not, it can be super distracting. I used to do, sit there and just draw hands over and over. One of the fun things I had was figuring out how I wanted to draw Bilbo's hair here. He's got that classic hobbit hair, which is really fun. Watch the camera on my paint. You can see how it's. I've still barely used any of it over the course of this whole painting. I'm in no need of having to replenish it or anything. Okay, we're just cruising along here with Bilbo. Eventually what I may do is actually return over to Gandalf. Only for the reason that he will be dry. And it might be easier to kind of work on some of the things that I wanted to do over on him, but for now we'll just stay with Bilbo and get him kind of locked in here. Alright, how we doing out there? How we doing out there? Okay. What? I can't forget to get his mouth here. I want to get his mouth. Now with Bilbo, I wish you could have seen this initially, but I had also just these huge eyebrows too, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. So I'm at it again with these really big eyebrows. And I'm not really sure what that's all about. I'm not sure why I feel the need to have these gigantic eyebrows. So I did scale it back a little bit. Let's put some buttons on here. 1, 2, 3 buttons. Fingers in here. Fingers can always be 1, 2, 3, and 2. See, I'm counting them just to make sure that I don't have any issues coming up later. jacket here. And I think we are almost cooking. Nice Bilbo. At least we blocked most of them in. One things I couldn't quite decide, what did I want him smoking on, a bench or a stool, so we ended up kind of going with the cute little stool right here. Alright, so we got him. We got them, at least both of them drawn, and now we just need to kind of fill in a little bit more too. Gandalf I may take and actually get some of this part of his cloak here as well. I realized I'm kind of zoomed in a little bit. Let's see if I can zoom out here. So this is probably a little bit visually do this. Oops, I just took it right out of its place here. Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll be right back. Let me fix this and I'll be right back. All right, I think I got it sorted. Sorry about that. I think we're in a little bit better spot now. At least, I guess we'll find out. Okay. I'm gonna hit this part of Gandalf here a little bit more. His cloak. Because I do want that to be considerably darker than it is. And what I'll do is that because I kind of went outside of where the lines beforehand. I'm just not gonna do that right now, and I'll just come back and fix that another time. So, oh, you know what I forgot? One of the things I noticed when I was painting, this must have been either last time or the time before, that I was royally squinting a lot when I was painting. And it was really, really bad. Like I would squint like this. Every couple seconds. It was uncanny. It was strange. And I have a teacher who used to tell me to squint my eyes, but I mean, that was a bit much. So let's get his do a little bit more on his staff here. I do need to have his staff considerably darker than it is. I don't want to do too many washes on it to get us there. Okay. Did add just a little bit of value to his hands as well, because obviously they're not white. I just kind of want to knock them back a little bit too. So yeah, Gandalf's really coming on. He's really coming on, coming alive here. I'm really glad that you like the Princess Bride reference there. Okay, I think we're at a spot now. I wonder how. Right. Frodo, not Frodo. Over here it starts already. Thinking that Bilbo is pretty dry here, so that I can start to get a little bit of value on him as well. I think what I may end up doing is that I don't want to get these. I don't want to get them too far along without the background in there. Now I do have my guide here that will always help me as to where we're going and what we're doing, and so that I don't get too lost. I will want to make sure that we get some of the background locked in here as well, but the more I'm going along here, the more I'm thinking that that may be our next time painting together. Because we are running already quite some time here tonight. Okay, so we got. Probably really should get his cute little bench that he has. Locked in as well here. Just don't forget it. I just feel like I just want to squint my eyes because that's what I do when I paint, I guess. Alright. Well, he's coming along. Good old Bilbo. Jacob. Thanks for stopping by, guy. Okay. I think Gandalf is... What else can I do before I forgot with Gandalf? But I do want to get this part of his, the inside of his sleeve, a little bit darker. Now what's interesting about doing it this way is that, I mean, this isn't paper, it's not, it doesn't take the paint like paper would. And so it's just it's a really different experience. Painting on something like this. Now, in my mock-up here, I have this shadow that's being cast is pretty far down because of the wide brim, you know. So I don't want to miss that. Okay. I think we should probably get his little stool in here. And I'm worried about it not being in the right spot. And I didn't really, I mean, I've got it kind of defined here, but not terribly well. And it's not really even in, I don't even think it's even in the right spots. And of course it's pushed out on the wrong side of his leg here. But that was just, once again, this was just a about here. I think I didn't even get this in the drawing or in the transfer. Okay, there we go. Get it locked in there a little bit. Okay. So, part of me wants to, I think I'm kind of going back and forth as whether or not I should try to do lay in where things are at on a larger scale here with the background, because that would be helpful. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to at least lay in a little bit of that so that we have, I'm going to see if I can zoom out all the way here. This is as big, this is as far as I can go out. Because I mean, this is a large piece here. So I'm going to try to get a different brush and start just laying in some, so I'm going to go with kind of a flat here. This is number 11. And I'm just going to try to delay in the background here. Eric, nice to have you. Hi, Deanna. Right, I'm gonna start laying in some in the background here as well, just so that we can see where things are sitting. Now I'm wondering if it would be a better idea, perhaps it would be, to actually hit some of these lines before I do this. And I think I'm better of it. I'm gonna do that instead. Just so that I have those I don't lose those lines if I need them later. So I'm just gonna kind of mop that up a little bit. And I'll come back to that. So yeah, I'll just sit back down and I'm gonna hit this with my you know, it's fun because this whole experience that I have here, this whole is all being done in a live environment, and so the choices that I make and the things that I do are all, you can see all of them. And I think it's a little scary. Because the decisions that I make are sometimes I have to go back on them. And I just don't think I necessarily need that big of a brush. Maybe that's what the problem was, is that it was just way too big. Maybe that's what it was. Whoop. And that's a lot of water. I'm just gonna kind of flood this a little bit. So back in the day with watercolor, if you kind of made a mistake, sometimes you had a small window where you could just hit it with a bunch of water, flood the area, and then kind of come back to it and at least try to get it off. And that would be kind of what I'm doing here, is I'm just being like, oh, that's not gonna work, and I'm just flooding the area. I think what it was too is that brush was just absolutely way too big for what I was trying to do. I know it's the adage of use as big a brush as you can, and I don't know that's always the right answer for things. These rounds seem to be working really well for me here. And so I think I'm going to kind of stick to that, at least for now. We'll maybe come back to that other brush at another time. But I love rounds because, like, see how I can use the side of my brush like that. Or I can use the tip of it. When I was watercoloring, there was times where I would only, the only brush I would use was a round. Okay, for get these little bushes behind Gandalf going now. I have just so much. I think I just have too much water on this thing. I'm gonna get some crazy blooming effects, which maybe isn't a bad thing. Consider that I am just getting right. I'm gonna try going back to this flat to see if I can just use it to put in some real basic value here on this grass. So once again, it's because it's an underpainting, I'm not really too worried about any sort of brush strokes or that kind of thing. I'm just worried about getting the value down. I don't want to be looking at any sort of white canvas or whiteboard. I should, in this case, be a whiteboard. I want that all to be taken care of. Oh wow, how did this happen? So I realized that my because of the size of the painting that I'm working on, and I'm working vertically, I am not actually able, I don't have the I don't have it set up so that I can go I didn't, so I can see the whole board. So it's a little bit too bad, because I wanted to be able to get the whole board in there if I wanted to, but so I am a little bit off the canvas here for you, and I will be back. I mean off the screen here, and I get that. And I'm just going to lay in these bushes quickly, or at least kind of indicate where they will be. I think I would have been along some of the worst background painters, because I just don't take my time with backgrounds maybe like I should. I think because I'm so much more interested in the characters themselves, and so when it comes to having a good background, I've always kind of been easily distracted from having a good background. So right, well, we're kind of cruising. Part of me thinks that those flat brushes are just not the answer right now. And perhaps what I could just do would be to grab a little bit larger of a round brush, and maybe that would be helpful. Sometimes you don't know what the right tool is until you get there. Until you're like, oh man, that, whatever it is not working. Okay, so what I'm actually hitting right here are the hills behind Bag End. So Bag End is all right here, and so what I need to do is get get the hills sorted out behind him, because I really want, the main focus, of course, to be on Bilbo and then Gandalf, and then thirdly would be Bag End. I'm gonna have to stand up and kind of see where we're sitting at right here. Yeah, I just use so much water down here. You can see that it's blooming. Yeah. All right. Well, we're actually in a pretty good spot. What I would like to do now is get some line work on the door here, so that I don't lose that. So I'm just going to hit these lines on this cute little round door. When I was doing this preliminary drawing, I went back and forth as to how much I wanted to have the background sorted out before I go into the actual painting, because this last drawing that I did, or a piece that I've been working on called Sherlock Fox, I did not sort out that well enough, and so then I kind of got myself into a bit of a pickle. These lines on the door, I realized, are not completely vertical, and I don't know if that's just how I ended up drawing it, or if my if it's the way that I transferred it, that the lines just are just a tiny bit crooked. Those do need to be straight up and down. They shouldn't be at all. So I don't know. I'm not quite sure how that happened, but I really wish I would have shown you how much paint I put on my palette, so that you could see how much is actually being used in this whole process, because it really isn't that very much. Thanks for stopping by, you guys. Whoa, I'm not sure what that was about. Found that if you hit it really fast, you're able to pick it up pretty quickly. It was really kind of fun looking at a bunch of the references for this. You know, all the different people that have drawn Bag End over the years, or that have drawn Bilbo and Gandalf, and but it's almost like a rite of passage in a way that I'm doing this. Of course, there was quite a bit from the movies and things like that were really helpful. And to kind of have my own take on it is super fun. It's so nice to have a little bit of reference as you go along. It's equally nice having this mock-up that I painted in Photoshop, because oh my goodness, there's just so many things that can or will go wrong, and just to have something lined up, it's so helpful. Well, we're getting to kind of near the end of tonight's stream, and I did want to have Bilbo and Gandalf locked in. That was my goal here for tonight. But it would have been nice also to have a little bit more of Bag End sorted out. But that's kind of where we're sitting tonight. Is that's probably not going to get too much more of that. So what I think I'm going to do is just spend a little bit more time. Oh, I think so. My bride is just so supportive to sit at these streams, hang out with me as I'm streaming, and supportive. I appreciate it. I keep hitting stuff that I want to hit. There we go. I still only used a fraction of the paint I thought I was going to use, even though I mentioned a couple times that I used quite a bit less than it's going to. Whoa! Okay, I'm gonna switch to just a tiny little bit, well, not a tiny bit of a bigger brush, considerably bigger brush, just so that I can move through. But because it's a round, I'm able to, because I'm painting this particular way, I'm actually able to lay down be fairly controlled with my brush strokes and yet lay down and just bigger strokes in general. Rounds are great for that, for their ability in that area. The fact that they can just lay down crazy amounts of. They're so versatile. As you can tell, I just really love those round brushes. Do 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 do. Let it do. Down to the shadow on chair. Bevel's really coming along. I'm kind of scared to do the stem because I want it to be really good. I don't want it just to be totally just kind of. So I'm actually going to just kind of wait on that. But there we're sitting on. We're really cruising, you guys. This is really coming along. You know, the foundation of this is really there. Part of me wants to keep going, and part of me wants to just let it be for the night. Realizing that there is some stuff over in here in Gandalf's was never quite taken care of, and that's the fact that this cloak. That's too much water right there. So what I'll do is I'll hit my I'll just hit my rag only just to get rid of some pigment. You can actually kind of pick it up off the Alright, so there's just a couple things that do need to be addressed here with Gandalf. One being his staff. I need to get that a little bit darker. And then I also want to get his actual cloak. As well as his robe. Just kind of keep adding value to knock that back a little bit. Okay. There we go. All right. All right. There. Well, guys, thanks so much for those who joined in today. Here's kind of where we got on our painting, and next time we'll continue working on this acrylic underpainting, and probably we'll jump on the oils in weeks to come. But yeah, thanks so much for for joining me on a Saturday night as I do some painting and for the support. So we'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much. Bye bye.